Happy Friday, y'all. Big baby back. You know what I mean? But it's a Friday, and I just decided I wanted to pop by myself. I've been having different guests on this countdown to 100. This is episode 97. 97 episodes with you all. Just so excited, man. I have a lot that I want to talk about. And, I just really haven't gotten busy by myself. And as somebody who enjoys the conversation, enjoys the interviews, I also enjoy working this mic by myself, man. It helps me out, It helps me it helps me. I don't know. It helps me. Okay. I just got to work on my skills. I'm over here stuttering, but hey, it's the big baby. And I'm back, and I'm in here all by myself, and I am potting by myself. And I forgot to create my banners right now, so that's why you see me stuttering so much. So let me get to the opening monologue today. Race, religion, and politics. We were taught to not talk about race, religion, and politics. They said, no, you don't talk about that at work. You don't talk about that at the dinner table. Because when you talk about race, religion, and politics, you might offend somebody. And this allowed a lot of people to live with a false perception that the world was great, that there weren't many issues. Why? Because we didn't talk about the things that are difficult for us to talk about, right? We never talked about this stuff. And I can think about so many people who now I see on social media, I say, ooh, I don't want to consume that. Or I see a lot of you who are saying, I'm getting you out of my life. I got to get rid of these people, all these people who I thought I was friends with, I was close to. We ain't vibing. And why? Because of race, religion, and politics. Let me adjust my camera real quick. I think it's just a tad bit high. And I say that to say, now that we talk about it, or we can openly talk about it, that's all we talk about. Because it appears that's really all that most of us care about. Race, religion, and politics. Because we love our people. We love our God. And we love our country. And I say our country to say politics because typically we talk about the parties or the policies that affect us best. But now that we talk about this all the time, I see that we're canceling so many people. And I called for the canceling of Drew Brees. I said divorce Drew Brees. I said boycott Brees and divorce Dabo. And maybe I was wrong for that. I don't know. Maybe seeing what's happened to Deshaun Jackson and Nick Cannon has made me realize, I was being a little selfish, right? I was being a little of a black supremacist instead of a person searching for equality. Maybe. I don't know yet. And time, it takes time to figure that out. But now, seeing how Nick Cannon has pretty much been fired from every platform that he's worked on, his talk show has been delayed because of his perceived anti-Semitic remarks. It really makes me think more. And I talk about this often, but criticism should not cause cancellation. Let me repeat that again. Criticism should not cause cancellation. It should start a conversation. If we want to open the world up to free speech, again, I don't knock any company for cutting ties with somebody who speaks on things that they do not represent. I get it. It's business. Business is business. You have to do what you have to do for your bottom line as a business. But think about this, man. You have so many family members and friends who, when they talk about certain topics, to stay away from them. You go, he's a little on the, side. His politics are a little off. or his stance on race or her stance on race is a little bit off, or we don't jive on this highly contested subject, but we do not judge those people because we know them and we just understand that they have their perspective that we just think is flat out wrong. Think about it. I'm pretty sure all of you have stances that go totally against what your parents believe and what they taught you. And you look at them, you go, Jesus, how do you think this way? But you don't hate them. You don't want to cancel them because you know their character. And as a society, we have to do a better job of judging character before we want to go out and cancel everyone because they make a controversial statement. We should have a conversation, maybe even a confrontation. So maybe there is some education that comes from that. Now, again, it's not the same for everything, but let's do this in society so that we can keep these conversations going, these important conversations going, because it is important to talk about these things. It is important for Drew Brees to show his tone deafness. It is important for Deshaun Jackson to shed light on a perspective that he believes, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. It is important for someone like Nick Cannon to say what it is that he said so that there becomes a conversation and a discourse between the people. So it's like, oh, dang, he feels that way. I feel this way, and here's why. I think this is hate speech. Here's why. I support what you're saying. Here's why. And maybe we can all become one happy family who have disagreements at times, but we don't hold it against each other eternally. But to continue with the Nick Cannon piece, right? He apologized. And Nick, you know you can't make everybody happy. When you say anything publicly, you open yourself up to public criticism. And personally, as a person with a podcast, a public platform, I embrace the fact that you can listen to something that I say and totally and outright disagree with me. You can drop a comment. You can hit my DMs. You can hit my phone if you know me, right? And I embrace that because that's the point of the conversation. The point of this platform is education, whether it's education for you who listen or me, the person who's talking. That's what it's all about. Creating uncomfortable conversations, getting comfortable having these uncomfortable conversations. But with that, I know I can't please everyone. And trying to please everyone puts you in a place of not being yourself. And we'll get to that later in some of the other topics that I have when I get to talking about role models. But people are calling him a sellout for apologizing. Okay, some people don't think the apology is sincere. That's fair. And I asked the question, when we apologize, are we apologizing because we are sorry for what we said? Or are we sorry for how it was received? Because when I think of myself, and I rarely apologize for things, not because I don't say things that are wrong, I don't overstep my boundaries, but very rarely am I sorry for the action that I committed. Because most of the actions that I take are deliberate actions that I mean. Now, do I miss something when making those decisions? Yes. Do I not see another person's point of view at times? Yes. Do I not care about another person's point of view or how it affects them at times? Absolutely. I think that's human nature. But with that, we have to be aware of the consequences. So for me, with most of what I do, I am willing to accept the consequences before I commit the action. I'm speaking for Adam. I can't speak for everybody else. So when you're so quick to apologize to people, I just want to know, are you apologizing for the action or are you apologizing for the response? That's it. In other news, I was happy to see today that Kenny Stills is not being charged. His felony charges have been dropped for peacefully protesting outside of the Attorney General's house in Kentucky, for the protesting the death of Breonna Taylor, because it's been however many days, and it's crazy that we can cancel Nick Cannon in less than 24 hours, but we still cannot arrest the officers who murdered Breonna Taylor. It's crazy that the people who are peacefully protesting to have this case seen, have this looked at, were arrested faster than the killers who barged into the wrong house and killed someone in their bed while they were asleep. Sad news. But for the main topic for today, I want to talk about role models. And what do role models look like? I got a quote for you. Would you rather go out of your way to make other people happy and die unhappy, or make yourself happy throughout life and piss others off? This is not an original quote. I am paraphrasing a quote that Cam Newton paraphrased from the late Nipsey Hussle. And I ask this question because oftentimes we get caught up trying to appease other people, and the whole time we're unhappy ourselves. But I'll delve into this a little bit deeper, man. Society wants role models, right? And we think about what a role model looks like. You just think about, what does a role model look like to you? Who is a role model in your life? What do they look like? I can imagine that a role model is different for everyone. But at the same time, I bet there is a consistent look for a role model. There's a consistent occupation. There's a consistent skill set, sensibility for what we have as role models. Maybe. But it depends on where you come from, who you're around. So let me get into this Cam stuff real quick, right? People want to listen to voices that they like. They want role models that they look like. Cam and Odell Beckham Jr. particularly. You look away, so you should act away. And y'all want to make a certain belief set, but it's not. Okay? So I watched the interview on Odell Beckham's YouTube channel. I think any and everybody should watch that. It's sports related, but it's not a sports interview, okay? They talk about life issues, and I think it is very important to look at it. Because yes, it's coming from a sports perspective, but it's a real conversation. It's an amazing conversation, let me tell you. And look at Cam Newton. Doesn't get in any real trouble, okay? He had a misstep in college. Who didn't? He's active in the community. He's a father raising his kids. He stays out of trouble. He produces for the most part on the football field. He scores touchdowns. He gives balls to kids in the stands. Again, he's what you'd think a role model looks like, or his actions are that of a role model. He's a little show-offy. He likes to dance. He likes to have a good time. But he plays the quarterback position. And when you think about, when we talk about systemic racism, right? We talk about systemic oppression. We talk about coded language. This is where we get. Where we talk about Cam having too big of a personality, or he can't go to New England and jive with Belichick. Why not? Because his big personality has nothing to do with his work ethic. His big personality has nothing to do with his coachability. His big personality is just who he is. He's an entertainer. And because quarterbacks have not really been entertainers, why? Because most quarterbacks look a certain way. Cam looks different from them. He plays different from them. So when they can't put you in the box that they put everybody else in, they want to make you wrong. No. We've been taught all of our lives to think outside of the box. But the second we think outside of the box, we're wrong, and they want to put us back in it. And Cam's not trying to play in your box. The same thing with Odell Beckham Jr. He has the tattoos. He likes to, you know what I mean, dance and all that stuff. Hit them folks, Odell. He likes the flashy cleats. He likes the watches. He likes the one-hand catches. He has the blonde curly hair. And y'all don't like it. He needs to worry about football. Okay, he's worried about football, I promise you. Nobody who knows him or Cam will say they have terrible work ethics. Look at them. Just look at them. Look at the athletes they are. Look at their ability to be great. Look at their skills. Look at their bodies. They're in the gym. They're working out. They're perfecting their craft, okay? And Odell cuts his hair off last year, right? He cuts it off. He tries to tone it down. He doesn't have the blonde. He's brown. He's a bit more quiet. He has 1,000 yards. He's hurt. We know he's hurt. He's not playing up to his ability, and you still get criticized. So back to the quote. Would you rather live a life making other people happy and die pissed off, or live a life that you're happy on the inside, and if you rub some people the wrong way, so what? Now, again, that doesn't get into to hateful actions and stuff like that. No, I'm just talking about just you being you. You masking your personality to fit a certain mold for someone else that pleases other people, but you're not happy when you look yourself in the mirror. And Odell is like, hey, bro, I'm done with that, right? I tried to do it your way. You still talk shit. So I'm doing it my way, and I'm going to have fun doing it. And I get to talking about the box, right? And here's the question I have. They talk about all these different antics. Oh, these antics. They need to act like you've been there before. Well, maybe I haven't been there before. Or maybe every time I get there, I enjoy it, so I want to have fun. Have you ever been to a club or a bar and saw somebody not dancing? You're like, that's weird. What are you doing? When you are happy, when you do something great, you celebrate. Some people celebrate at home. People celebrate with friends. Some people go out and they celebrate with random people. We all celebrate things differently. We all live our lives differently, but some odd reason when it comes to sports, specifically quarterbacks, when it comes to public figures, society wants them to act a certain way. And it's like, no. You told me to think outside of the box, so I'm going to get outside of the box. I'm not going to be in your box. I am going to be me. I am not going to be who you want me to be. And that makes people uncomfortable. I was listening to Chad Johnson talking on a podcast about the Hall of Fame and why he doesn't need their validation. He knows how good he was. The people he played against know how great he was. And he said, yeah, I could have cleaned up my act, but I want to do it my way. I want to have fun. And if that means that I don't get into the Hall of Fame, so what? Those are his words. And he talked about the fines. He says they want us to act a certain way. He said the fine is the new whip. They think that all we care about is money. So what they do when we do things that they don't want us to do, they try to take our money. Look at Cam Newton. He's playing for $500,000 guaranteed. Why? Not because he was hurt. Because he doesn't do it their way. And they think that all we care about is money. So they try to take that. Another important takeaway from this thing is it really shows you the leadership of Cam Newton, the role model that he is. Because Todd Gurley is also a part of the conversation along with Odell Beckham and Victor Cruz leads the conversation. But Todd and Odell really show their admiration for Cam. They talk about the different lessons that they learned from him. They talked about how they saw him being himself and how it helped them be themselves. And he was just dropping jewels throughout, just letting them know, hey, man, you got to put in the work to get this. But if you do this, here's the backlash. And I'm telling you, you got to go listen to it. Because when they question Cam's ability to be a leader, to go into a locker room, it's like, are you serious? Do you hear how his peers who don't even play with him are talking about him? If you think about what happened to him in Carolina when he got hurt and he was doing his best to get back so he could make a playoff push. And they're like, you're our guy, Cam, you're our guy. Then they switch up and they fall in love with the backup because he wins a couple of games. And Cam the whole time said, hey, don't worry about this. You keep balling out. you keep playing good football because that's what you're here to do. That's leadership. Like, he could have easily trashed him. And people try to make Cam out to be dumb. I really hate when the media does that. Because you have a little flair. Maybe because you have a Southern twang. Or maybe because you speak in colloquial language. When you're talking, people take that for stupidity or a lack of intelligence. It's like, no, I can process information just as well as you can. Like they said, oh, Cam might not be able to get the system in New England. Get out of here. He might not start in New England. Get out of here. Are you serious? Because he doesn't look like the role model that you want him to look like. Because he doesn't look like the quarterback that you want him to look like. You don't think he can process the information? Again, Chad Johnson said, football is the same everywhere. People just have different names for it. There's only so many things that you can do. Just think about that. So I just find it interesting the way that they do this. And my lasting thing on the role models piece, man, or from this conversation is, we weren't mad at MJ for holding the pose when he hit the shot. So why are we mad at Cam for dabbing or Supermaning when he scores a touchdown or gets the first down? It's the same thing. Oh, yeah. Because black man is supposed to be a shooting guard. He's not supposed to be a quarterback. All right, so I'm going to make a pivot here to talk about why we should be careful of who we follow. And again, it's a role model conversation, but it's going in a different area. Because we oftentimes look at celebrities for our guiding light on political and social issues. And it's like, man, if you don't have time yourself because you're worried about what you have going on to not read into these things, what makes you think these people do? They have jobs, they have workouts, they have their own personal interests. And if they choose to be socially unaware, it's okay. Now, I'm not accusing Cam, Todd Gurley, or Odell Beckham for being socially unaware, because they're not. They understand what goes on in their lives. But a lot of times what they focus on is their lives, which is fine. I'm not mad at that. So when asked by Victor Cruz, what are you going to take to your new team? What pressures, what questions are you going to ask your new team when it comes to social justice? What are you going to ask them to do for the black community? Todd Gurley was like, I ain't really thought about that. I mean, I do what I do for my community because that's what I do. I never thought about putting that pressure on the team. And I say that to say, because even in this climate where everybody seems to be worried and caring about Black Lives Matter, rights for oppressed people, you have individuals who have the ultimate power, who have the ultimate opportunity to go to their bosses and say, hey, what are you going to do for my community? And they're not. I'm not knocking them for that. But what I'm telling you is, don't be so quick to follow it behind these people when it comes to social issues, because they're not experts. And they don't have to be experts, but they're not. And you should treat them as such. Just because somebody is good at a sport, is good at singing, is good at making music, it's funny, is good at acting, it does not mean that they know what's good for the people. Oftentimes these people, yes, they have humble beginnings, but once they get their money, they get elevated into a different stratosphere. They're surrounded by different types of people who have different perspectives. They have a different tax bracket, and your tax bracket, believe it or not, controls how you vote. For some people, it really does. So be careful. And think about this. We give Chance the Rapper and J. Cole a lot of credit for being, oh yeah, they're woke. They understand what's going on. They care about the people, this, that, and the third. Maybe, maybe not. They care about themselves. Maybe they come from where we are, what we come from, but I don't know if that means they are of what we come from. They are us, right? So J. Cole had his no ID thing, and I'm not going to get into that. or No Name, whatever the person's, I don't remember the name, but pretty much saying, I don't really know what's going on. I just rap about what I know. Then we have Chance out here championing Kanye West for president, someone who's not even registered to run for president, has missed the deadline in many states, and he's having a full conversation and arguing with Joe Budden on Joe Budden's podcast about why we should get behind Kanye. And I understand that you might be a Kanye fan, and if he puts out good music, I'm going to listen to it. If he puts out bad music, I give it one listen. But to get behind somebody just because, oh yeah, he said this right here, I like this, he's trying to end homelessness. Okay, well, how? And then Chance goes on to say, well, all presidents are murderers because of the things that happen in war. Okay, maybe not. War is necessary evil in this world. I don't necessarily like it, but it's part of the world we live in. Violence is a thing. But to blindly get behind somebody because they say three great things, but they have a track record that shows that they're not mentally stable. They do things for the limelight, and you are using your personal relationship with this individual to push this agenda. It's like, oh my God, are you serious? But we think these are the smart rappers. And maybe they're smart about the things that they know about, but don't give them that much credit for knowing about policy. Don't give them that much credit for knowing about politics. I was having a conversation today, and one of my biggest issues with the Breakfast Club is not that they bring on political people, bring them on, ask them questions. But when they get to talking politics, there's a difference in having a conversation with a politician than talking actual politics. Because when you don't have an understanding of the political system and how it works and why you need certain people to do certain things, and you have such a large influence on people who also don't know what goes on, they believe that you know what you're talking about, and they run with it. Like Charlemagne, P. Diddy, telling y'all we're going to withhold the black vote. Okay, are we? I think it's important to vote responsibly. I think it is important to ensure that you know what you are voting for. But I also think it is important to look at the state of the world. And no matter where you fall politically, what is best for you? What is best for us, right? What aligns with decorum? What aligns with the ability to enact change? What aligns with, I don't know, just human decency? And I think that is something that you should consider. Again, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for because my interest and your interest are totally different interests. And that's the beauty of the system that we live in. But you just have to be so careful when you're following the words of these celebrities. Well, guess what I've been going to recently? I'm back at YNC. Went to YNC this week, and for y'all who don't know, that's Young People Church. Yes, I said people because of rebranding. And I pulled some great things out of the conversation, out of the sermon, right? Talked about Jesus isn't American. And the scripture was John 4:15 through 34. And here's a few things I want to talk about. Cultural values take over the church. And have we inherited traditions that aren't biblical? And I think this is such an important talking point because in today's society, we see so many different organizations who claim Jesus Christ. They claim Christianity, but their actions run counter to that. Now, I understand that no one is perfect. We all are sinners and we've come so short of God's glory. But at the same time, you ever just thought about like, hey, man, you are a hate group masked by God. Are you sure this is of God? I don't know. But listen to this, man. What would I say? We too often make the word support our beliefs instead of deriving our beliefs from the word. And what that means is we will find something in the Bible out of context, maybe even in context, to justify our beliefs, our decision makings. We can say, oh, this happened in the Bible. Oh, Jesus did this. Jesus did that. Or the disciples did this. Or this happened back then. The Pharisees, the Sadducees, whoever it is you want to call it, did this. King David did this. So, I mean, he was favored by God, so this is okay. Well, no. How about you take the word, study it, and take what it means, and that's where you start at. Your belief should not be the foundation. Your belief should be the action based upon the foundation of the word. I'm not here to preach to you, but that's all I'm saying. If you are going to use the name of God to support your beliefs, make sure your beliefs are of this God that you are pulling them from and not from yourself. Next one. Let's see what we got here. We often feared questioning leadership. And in this situation, the disciples saw Jesus talking to a Samaritan woman, which goes against Jewish customs, but they didn't check him. They knew she was a Samaritan woman, and they didn't check him. And I'm not saying you're supposed to check Jesus, but here's what I'm saying, that if we see leadership doing something that we don't agree with, that we don't think is right, we should question it. Hey, what are you doing? This, according to the rules, or according to my perception of the rules, or according to my beliefs, this is not right. And that makes leadership, for one, explain to you what they're doing and why they're doing it. And it allows you to learn. And maybe leadership is wrong, and maybe they're doing things that they should not be doing, and now you've held them accountable, and they're not abusing their power. And so often we don't see that in today's society. Oh, no, well, the leader did it, so it's okay. No, you question the leadership. We forget who we were when we make it. And this was the disciples wondering why Jesus was talking to certain people or types of people, right? People who were, quote unquote, beneath them. And it's like, well, where did Jesus pull you from? Were you a perfect person when he came to you and asked you to follow him and spread his gospel? I don't think so. So when you make it, don't forget where you came from. Don't forget who you were. Don't forget about your hometown. Go back home and help the people out who haven't made it. Remember who helped you come up, because you may not be able to help them come up, but you may be able to help their kids come up. You may be able to help their family come up. You may be able to help your own family come up, because guess what? You didn't get here by yourself. And you're not going to bring everybody with you, but you can bring some. You can help some people out. So don't forget who you are, where you're from. Okay? I'll never forget. I'm AC from Mays Road, Cartersville, Georgia, grew up crying. I'll never forget that. That's who I am. Despite where I am today, despite what I want to do in the future, I'll never forget my roots. I will always be Sharon and Adam's son. I'll always be Boots Mays and Lorene Mays' grandson. Always. Mays Road, baby, forever. Let me see what else. And lastly, man, a lot of church folks, man, there's a difference between Christians and church folks, man. I swear now. It's the church folks, they want you to consume the gospel the way they do. They want you to believe the way that you do. They want you to sin the way that they do. And that's not how it works, man. I have my own sins, my own shortcomings. You have yours. I have my good features. You have yours. I'm not you. You're not me. So don't judge me for not being you. I've been repeating this time and time again on this platform. Everybody doesn't show up to the party at the same time, and that's okay, as long as everybody makes it to the party. So don't judge people because they don't operate the way that you do. All right, now for my final topic. I'm going to get into the reparations piece in Asheville, North Carolina, but before I get to that, I want to talk about this. Let's use clear language on slavery. I saw this post. Shout out to Chew, man. He's always posting some great stuff on his story on Instagram. At TL Bush. It's probably a period or underscore in there somewhere, but TL Bush on Instagram. Great follow. Clear language on slavery. Slaves equal hostages. Slave owners equal human traffickers. Slave catchers equal police. Plantations equal death camps. Mistresses equal rape victims. Discipline equals torture/murder. Overseers equal torturers. Trading equals kidnapping. Profit equals theft. Middle passage equals genocide. Okay. For any of you who are interested in following, it's actually T.L. Bush. All right. Let me see. Here we go. Start replacing the words you commonly hear and read about slavery in your head. Bookmark this as a reference. Start using everyday words that are relevant to you in this day and age. Stop obscuring the horror with detached, antiquated, euphemistic terms. So listen to the story I'm about to tell you. So slave families lived in plantations owned by white slave owners who hired overseers to maintain discipline. You have actually black families were held hostage in death camps by white human traffickers who employed torturers to torture and kill them. Different, huh? Mr. Johnson, a philanthropist and slave owner, demanded in his will that his slaves be freed upon his death. This becomes Mr. Johnson, philanthropist and human trafficker, declares that his family of black hostages will be freed over his dead body. The U.S. Congress passed the Fugitive Slave Act, which obligated white Americans to return slaves to their masters' plantations. This becomes Congress passed the Escaping Black Families Act, which obligated whites to return terrified black families to the death camps of their kidnappers. We abolished slavery way back in 1865. There is no need to still be talking about it now. Even though it has only been 2 human lifetimes back to back since it was fully legal to kidnap, torture, rape, and murder black people, there's no reason to still be upset. Now, is some of this a little bit sensationalized? Sure. But I think it is important to use these types of terms so we don't dilute what slavery was and is, okay? We have to use these common terms that gross us out, that piss us off, and makes us want to act when we talk about our history. So if you use these terms, it helps you to understand your history a little bit better, and you're not, again, watering down what it truly is and was, okay? But lastly, I don't know if you all were informed, but yeah, reparations in Asheville, North Carolina has been signed. And I think this is probably the most palatable form of reparations that we're going to see, and is definitely a step in the right direction, but the execution of it will determine whether or not it's going the right way. Because again, I think it has the correct intentions, but intentions without proper execution means nothing. So based on this article that I read, let me find out the piece we have. So it's simply not to remove statute that it passed unanimously, but it does not mandate direct payments. It makes investments in areas where black residents face disparities. And as much as I agree that it is good to help the black people who have disparities, I disagree that just because you figured it out, that does not mean that you are not owed reparations. You're not. You may be upper middle class, but you could be a little bit better. So you deserve the same investment as well. But we're not going to make everybody happy with this, even amongst all black people. So again, it is a step in the right direction. It is more than a cracker crumb. It is something closer to maybe it's a piece of meat, a good piece of meat, or maybe a good side dish. Again, it's a step in the right direction. But the resulting budgetary and programmatic priorities may include, but not be limited to, increasing minority home ownership and access to other affordable housing, increased minority business ownership and career opportunities, strategies to grow equity and generational wealth, closing the gaps in healthcare, education, employment, and pay, neighborhood safety, and fairness within the criminal justice system. Now, to me, these are a lot of buzzwords that say, hey, we want to help you out. But until I see how this is properly executed, I cannot be satisfied. I cannot accept this as great. I can accept it as good. I can say, okay, you got your minds in the right direction. Okay? But is this something that's sustainable? Are you going to sustain this? And how are you going to make this a reality? Because you still got to change the hearts and minds of people when it comes to criminal justice reform. Yes, you can change laws. You can help that out. But it doesn't matter if you got a crooked judge. Doesn't matter if I can't afford a good lawyer. It doesn't matter if you can build me a nice school, but a teacher don't want to come here and teach. Or the stuff that you're teaching me is factually wrong. So, am I happy about it? Yes. But am I ecstatic? Absolutely not. Because I talk about how sometimes when we try to fix racism, we white it up, right? And I say we white it up because we have people who don't understand the struggle, who don't understand what it takes to fix some of these problems, trying to impose their thought process on these problems without using the people who are going through this to come up with a proper solution. So I'm happy to see the word equity. I'm happy to see home ownership. And I truly hope that Asheville does this the right way and this becomes the norm, not only in the small city of North Carolina, but throughout the entire country, and it becomes a federal thing. I hope reparations becomes a federal thing, and we need to keep asking for tangibles. We have to keep asking for deliverables, because if not, we won't get anything. You shoot for the moon, and hopefully you land on a star, even though that's so wrong because the stars are further away than the moon, but you understand the point that I'm making. So hopefully we can get what we rightfully deserve from this country. Hope y'all have a great weekend. Big baby!